Great. And we're going to get going in just about 30 more seconds here. I bet you the vast majority of people are going to be showing up in just one moment. Just for clarity, you can see my screen okay, Jerry, Mary?
You're not in presentation, but you're up.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you, sir. So yeah, thanks very much everybody for joining in today. My name is Jason Lindstrom, and co-hosting with me here today is Jerry. And we're going to be kicking off today's topic, how to maximize employee engagement and productivity with Mary Miller. I'm very excited for this topic for a bunch of reasons, and to have the speaker, Mary, join us specifically. I can see a bunch of people now dialing into the call, so welcome Alexa and Amy and Barbara and Christy. I want to invite a little more chat, a little more conversation to today's webinar / presentation. So if you guys could say where you're from, that'd be wonderful. Just in the chat window, feel free to just type which city you're from. Quick side note, Jerry and I are from Vancouver. It's a beautiful town. Very wet this time of year for the next, I don't know, 6 months. Right on, we have Denise from Hartford, Connecticut, Jennifer Irwin from Vancouver, Emily from Pennsylvania, Cheryl from Texas. Awesome.
Howdy, Cheryl.
We work for a Kelowna-based company, but none of it Canada. Awesome, super.
Wow.
Mary Miller from Cincinnati. Awesome. Budapest. Wow.
Nice.
I love it. Plano, Texas. Paul Haggerty, welcome. Awesome, guys. This is wonderful. Toronto, excellent. So we have a bit of a global mix, but obviously a bit of a North American bias. Excellent. I think you're going to get lots of takeaways regardless of where you're from. I'm really happy everybody jumped in to say where you're from. In a few moments, I'm going to be asking you to put your questions in there as well. Mary's been kind enough to answer questions as she goes through today's session. By brief way of intro, again, my name is Jason Lindstrom. I'm one of the managing partners and CEO of Bucket List Rewards. And co-hosting with me here today is Jerry Grattan, the Chief People Officer over at Trailblaze Partners. And we're going to take a slightly different approach to today's presentation. Specifically, Mary's been kind enough to give a bit of a presentation, and she's going to be sharing her knowledge and insights. Mary's an amazing speaker. She did a session for us about 2 years ago, and I'd done a number of sessions, webinars over that period, and she came back as the #1 ranked speaker for that time period for over the entire year.
Nice.
The other one, yeah, I didn't ever share that with you.
You weren't going to tell me that, were you?
I'm like, this person loves that person. So there's tons of amazing feedback, and I'm really excited that she's come to join us again today. Mary is a CEO of a company called Jancoa. They have hundreds of employees. They're known for their culture. She's also been recognized as Entrepreneur of the Year by Ernst & Young. She's an author of a book, Changing Direction, and you won't find this in her LinkedIn profile. This is my words. I'm gonna write a testimonial for you in a few moments. She's just a totally amazing person. She lights up a room, and I'm super excited to have her here today. So with that, why don't we turn it over to you, Mary, and you can kick us off.
Okay, you've got one message on the chat, Jason, that somebody's having a hard time hearing you.
No problem.
But can you, if you can let me know, Amy, if you're having a hard time hearing me, since I'll be talking for a bit. Okay, I'm going to see if
you're coming through loud and clear to me, Mary.
Excellent, excellent.
Cool.
Well, thank you so much for coming today. I really appreciate it. This has been one of the toughest adjustments to me, being a real people person and loving a live audience, is to sit in a chair and stare at a little green light. That is different, but it's the way we are today. And you know, there's always all these things. I was just telling somebody the other day that before any great new venture or a new idea always came at the end of something difficult. I didn't know there was something better coming around the corner. I was so focused on how to deal with the situation that I really wasn't looking forward enough. So, you know, one of the things that we can all do is to learn from our lessons from the past. And I think that's a really important thing. Our topic today on how to maximize employee engagement and productivity, that is something that is a result of some of the lessons that I've learned. And somebody once told me that the sooner you learn the lesson, the less often you have to repeat it. So some of those lessons are so painful, I don't want to repeat them again. And the one lesson that was like a 2x4 up beside the head, I don't know if you've ever had one of those before, but they hurt. And it happened at a time when I start working with Tony. A little bit of background. I'm in Cincinnati, Ohio. I was a twice divorced woman with 3 children doing a 100% commission sales job, because my first marriages didn't last out. Yes, that was plural. There was 2 marriages prior that didn't work out, and I was depending on somebody else to take care of me. And what I've realized, and every entrepreneur knows, is the better we take care of ourselves and the better we help take care of others, the more life works. And that's been a lesson learned over many years. And I met my husband number 3 through a mutual friend, and he was an entrepreneur, which fascinated me. And then I found out he owned a cleaning company. Not as glamorous as I had hoped when I thought about an entrepreneur business, but it's a fascinating business. I spoke to somebody recently that owns another cleaning company that's national and has 1,100 maids. They do residential. And I said, why did you choose this industry? And he was like, well, it's got good cash flow. It's repeatable business. I don't have to start zero every month, and nobody else wants to do it. So the competition is low. Like, those are all the highlights. And that's the way life works sometimes. You know, life comes disguised. And when you're dealing with people and you're in HR, it's another one of those things. Why would you choose HR? You're dealing with people, and people are not always easy. And that's something that I've learned many times over and over. So we had come across, when I start working with Tony at Janco in 93. We were married in 91. And he had this little cleaning company that was payroll to payroll, kind of like so many people live paycheck to paycheck. And we decided to put all our energy together in this family business. We didn't know if Jancoa could even support us. It was a very lean. I told him we should register as a nonprofit, honestly, because there wasn't any. We were just literally and it wasn't something by choice. Tony started Jancoa because his father died from heart disease. And all of a sudden, Tony was the one in charge and had to take care of his mom and 3 siblings. So that's how Jancoa started. He had been cleaning bars while going to college, and he left college and started this business. So we had 65 part-time employees in 1993. And we found out that part-time people work part of the time, that you couldn't really depend on them much. So that was one of our first changes as we were moving toward, in hindsight now, no, we were moving toward really creating a different culture that would attract different people for different reasons. And we used to think, this is so bad. I want to tell you, I woke up one morning with this great idea and said, Tony, we got to take care of our people, and we could call it the Dream Manager. And that's not the way it happened. Not at all. Nobody goes to a movie to see a story of people where life just kept working and kept getting better. People like to watch and hear about stories that things go well and then they fell off the cliff. And then they found their way back and start going up. And then there was a boulder that fell on top of them. You know, things happen in life. You know, that's the way life is always going to be. None of us expected 2020 to be a pandemic, but there's always going to be something. You can't always predict it. So what we do know, when you're in HR and you're dealing with people, there's always going to be a need for people. There are always going to be somebody to leave that you didn't expect to leave. And there's always somebody that's looking for a job. Those are 3 things that always happen when you're dealing with HR, regardless of what industry you're in. And today are interesting times. So giving this opportunity for me to share a little bit about my story, hopefully it will help you take a look at your story and some key action steps of what you can do to have a fascinating future, to move out of the fog. Because when you take care of you and you move out of the fog of today and you help others by moving them out of the fog, everybody wins. And that creates a culture of caring. And that culture of caring is what will attract more people, customers and team members. We doubled our business pre-COVID in 5 years without a sales team. We had gotten up to 650 employees, full-time employees, just in Cincinnati with no sales team because of the culture of what's attracting people to our business, employees and customers. People talk because it's unusual. And that all started back in 1993 when Tony and I start working together and realizing that this business was not a business. It was a job that owned us because it's a 24/7 business. And it was tough trying to raise a blended family of 5 kids with a 24/7 business. So I got this great idea. Let's hire a consultant. And I'm guessing most of you have had some experience with a consultant in your time in business. They're supposed to come in and give you some great ideas and answers and processes that'll help you improve. So the first night, it was a 5-day contract. Monday night, he flew in and him and Tony were out Monday night, scoping out the lay of the land, putting together a plan. We were going to meet on Tuesday and create a plan of attack and start Tuesday evening with 3 key buildings and make things rhythmic, beautiful dance that was going to be efficient and productive and profitable. And so that was the plan. So Tuesday, Bob comes to the office with Tony. Tony had picked him up and Bob's got his suitcase with him. So they come in and I'm quite concerned. Is everything okay? And Bob looks at Tony, one of those looks like, did you not talk to your wife? Which he had not. It turned out we didn't have enough people to clean Monday night. So Tony and Bob vacuumed all night long. We were 38 full-time people short. And we still had to have all the business cleaned by 6 a.m. And they finished at 5 a.m. Oh man, you give an inch, take a mile. So Bob told me straight up, he says, Mary, I can't help you. As a matter of fact, you're fired. Wait a minute. I wrote the check. How do you fire me? But that's what he did. And I was shell shocked. He then asked me if I could take him to the airport. And I had somebody call a taxi for him because I wasn't going to spend another minute with him. I had things to do. I had new pressures and new ideas. And I thought the world was going to all come together and it was going to be Shangri-La and follow the yellow brick road. You know, it's life hits you. And that's, you got to keep moving because we had kids, we had team members, people were depending on us and customers and contracts. So we start doing things differently. We were hiring 50 people a month, doing drug test and background checks in 1994 and still not having enough people and the right people in the job. And Tony was telling HR, hire 75 people. Surely we'll have enough people if we overemploy and just keep calling them in. And I did a timeout. We're not doing this game anymore. We're going to find a way to make it different. And what we did starting out was ask different questions. What happens so often, and it's not just in the world of HR, it's in the world of finance and everything else where there's systems and processes and you just repeat and repeat. It's on every shampoo bottle, wash, rinse, repeat. That's the way so many businesses are. But that's not the way you're going to get something different. The definition of insanity is to keep doing the same thing, expecting different results. So there's a couple things that we had to do. We had to ask different questions. And the number one question was, what would we have to do to attract people to want to work for us? You know, that was a question we had never asked before. We just put it out there and expected it to come in. And we start asking different questions. Why would they choose us? There was 104 cleaning companies. Why Jancoa? And so we started looking at what we were doing. We made a list of our top employees who we would want to clone. Do that. I mean, it's fascinating when you look at all your employee base and you write down, if you can clone your top 10, who would they be? And what do they have in common? It's a great exercise, and you'll see things you don't see on the surface when you do that deeper dive and ask questions. And for us, the number one thing those people had in common is they had difficulty with transportation. A lot of our managers were spending most of their evening driving people around, picking them up and taking them to different job sites, especially since we were short. So we decided we were going to start transporting. Our transportation system here in Cincinnati leaves a lot to be desired. It still does. It's getting better. The mayor actually put me on the board for our transit authority, knowing that I survived the brain damage, he said, of doing it ourselves. So I've been serving on that. We got a new tax levy passed, and we're making changes in 2021. So, you know, it's taken a few years, but we're still working on it. But what we did for short term is we went out Monday morning and bought a van, and Tony started driving. He was our first driver. You know, there's a video, Tony says, you know, I was the person with the least amount of work that had to be done. So I became the driver. And within 2 days, he was invisible. Nobody looked at him as the owner of the company driving them to work and just sat there nice and quiet. He was just some guy driving them. He saw where they lived. He heard them with their problems. And that changed our hearts. That just stopped us in our tracks. When we saw the humanity of the people that came to work with us each day and what obstacles they were dealing with, it changed the way we looked at it. And that's the number one step. If you want to maximize employee engagement and increase their productivity, you got to stop looking at them as machines doing a job that you hired them to do, and realize that they are human beings that have life issues of their own, and they don't really care about your goals if they're in the midst of major issues and problems. And if they've stopped dreaming, if they've stopped deciding that working towards something only brings more disappointment and regret. And that makes a huge difference. I saw a great show last weekend. I don't know, have you guys seen Ted Lasso yet? It's on Apple Plus. Jason Sudeikis, is that how you pronounce it, I think? Yeah, Jerry's giving thumbs up. It is an amazing, I get chills thinking about it. There was one scene that really captured me. And it was a scene where he's playing darts. And I don't want to give the whole scene away, but he quoted Walt Whitman. Stay curious, not judgmental. And I love that. I had not heard that it was his quote before, because my line is usually be outrageously curious. Because the more you're outrageously curious about what are the obstacles that your team's having, do this for your business, do this for your customers. Make a list, you know, it's like the, I use DOS with Strategic Coach, but there's another tool that people use, SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, obstacles, and threats. So, you know, when you take that time to really look at what that is for your team members, you'll look at them differently. And when you create value for your team, the way you do for your customers, it's like the scales of justice, and it attracts different things to you, rather than what we always did for so many years is make a list of all the supplies and equipment you needed to take care, to clean a building, mop bucket, broom, wipe, dust mops, and the different cleaning chemicals, people. Oh, by the way, we don't have enough of those. When you put the people and the humanity first, it's amazing the changes. Our productivity increased, our profitability increased, and our customers start requesting us and referring us to other people. We're cleaning, we've got 80% market share in the greater Cincinnati area right now, and that's during COVID. We're up to 650 employees pre-COVID. We're now hovering between 450 and 500, which is still a lot when we're surrounded by empty offices. So it's when you do amazing things and try to take care of people and show them respect, hold them accountable. That's one of our main, just because you're taken care of, it's not all fun and games, it's business. But when you communicate in a way that's consistent and they know what you're committed to do, and you do what you say you're going to do, you will keep people from at a different level, and it makes a difference. So the biggest lesson that we learned through that was, we were telling a friend of ours what we were doing. We had a really catchy name back in '94. It was the Incredible Employee Retention Program. Sounds good, huh? And a friend said, what you're doing is you're helping these people achieve their dreams. Because we start helping people buy homes, speak English, get their driver's license, learn how to budget, be, financial literate. And it was amazing, all the different things that we start doing. And people would come to us and say, hey, we've got this program, we think your employees might enjoy it. It was just crazy. So we said, you're helping their dreams come true. That hit us. Okay, we're going to call this, it started, it went from the Incredible Employee Retention Program to the Dream Engineer. And then when a friend introduced us to Matthew Kelly and he approached us about writing a book, the name was changed to the Dream Manager. So the Dream Manager was a great program to help people make their dreams come true. But what it's done since 2007, when the book came out, it's evolved into creating a strong culture of caring, which changes every conversation that people have with each other from every level, from me as the owner CEO to the person that we just hired to clean the toilets as a general cleaner. And it's just amazing the difference that it makes in people's life. But the magic behind the curtain that nobody talks about, it starts with you. It starts with how you live your life. If Tony and I weren't doing things to go after our dreams or talking about them or encouraging our team members or from the leadership to every level and creating that as part of every conversation. So what are you really excited about today? What are you working on? It reduces, not eliminates, I'm still working on that, the negative talk and gossip about each other. Give them something positive to talk about and help encourage them. The number one chapter in my book, Changing Direction, is not about what's your dream. The number one chapter is embrace change. And I think that's the hardest thing. That's what most people from the outside looking in say about HR professionals is you don't want to change. Well, you're stuck with so much compliance stuff. You don't have an easy job. But every time I meet an HR professional, I always kind of give them a smile. Say, you got the easiest job in the company, don't you? And most of them get it because it's not the easiest, but it is so important because no company can stay in business without having people. So you have to take care of yourself. One of my favorite team members that was with us for a long time told me that the reason he joined our company was because he loved my vision. He loved my enthusiasm and my vision. He signed on to Jancoa not because we're a cleaning company and do a great job cleaning those toilets and mopping those floors. He found an enthusiasm and excitement. And if you're dealing with HR, and it doesn't matter if you're from Vancouver, Budapest, Illinois, Cincinnati, or Columbus, or wherever in the world. I spoke in Dubai about this and met people from countries I didn't even know existed. This is an important topic. Acknowledge the humanity, but take care of yourself. If you don't acknowledge, as 2020 ends, and it's been such a crazy year for everybody, if you don't take time to really take care of yourself this last month of the year and have some clear goals for what 2021 is going to look like, so you have the energy and the confidence to achieve your dreams and your goals, because when you do that, that creates energy. That creates excitement, because it starts with you. You are the core of your universe. Because if you die tomorrow, your universe is gone. They're going to go on anyway. So might as well take, you got one game around this cycle, right? One life. Make it count. Take care of yourself and find somebody else that you can help lift and help make their life better. And it creates a ripple effect that you can't see it coming, but it's so magical and it makes a difference. So you got to take care of you. What are you going to do for self-care? What are you going to do? Are you going to embrace change? Or are you going to resist it with everything in it and say, my God, I'm going to make them do it, whether they like it or not, and they'll leave and go someplace else. Or they'll stay and make everybody else leave because they'll be miserable. And that's not good for anybody. You want people who want to do the job and are happy to be there. And if they're stuck on something negative, find out what it is they want. And knowing what they want, knowing what you want is important. But you have to look farther than today. You have to look farther than a year. Go 3 years out and then reverse engineer it. If it was already 2023, what has to happen for you to be really happy with your progress? Your brain cannot ignore a question, but when you ask it going forward and looking back, it will engage immediately with different thoughts and ideas, whether it's physical, intellectual, company goals, vacation goals, adventures. Go to every aspect of your life and ask yourself, take some time in the next 30 days. Go someplace where nobody will bother you and journal on it and just write it out as if it's already happened. It will start attracting things in your life that you can never see coming. And if you take that and create a dream board from it, oh my goodness, pictures are worth 1,000 words. So when I still have my dream board, and it's amazing the things that have come true that I did in 2003 when we started the Dream Manager program. So you got to take care of you, embrace change, know what you want, know why it's important. Many of you have probably watched Simon Sinek's TED Talk or have read his book or know more about know your why. And it's the why is confusing. Why is not about justifying what you want. That's a banker way, that's a parent way, somebody, we've always got that critical voice telling us why something won't happen. Why is the emotional connection to it. Because if you know what you want and you connect it with the logic and the emotion, the why to it, that creates a bond and a superpower that you can't hardly avoid. I mean, things are going to start happening. You just have to strap in and be ready and start doing the things that you need to do. But another number one thing you got to do is protect yourself from your thinking, because your thinking will stop you in your tracks. So most people still have a remote control on the TV. And if a commercial comes on or if something comes on the show you don't like, you just change the channel. Start doing that with your thinking. Just change the channel. Choose something that's neutral and always said, so if a negative thing comes on, you could create a new habit to go to the different thought. Because you can't control the thoughts that come into your head, that's 6 inches between your ears. There's too much noise, especially today, so much noise. But you are 100% in charge of what you choose to do with the thoughts. So you could feed them or you can deny them. Your choice. Feed the positive, starve the negative, make them go away, make that inner coach stronger than your inner critic so that you can see the results that you want in your life. And have your tribe, your support team. You know, programs like Bucket List, there's people, you can see the different names on there. Find some of those names on LinkedIn and connect to them. What did you think about that? What can you learn from each other? You need to have like-minded tribe. And we need lots of different kind of tribe. When you're in HR, you need an HR tribe. If you're in operations, you need COO tribe. We need lots of different tribes, not one. We all have families, and sometimes our families aren't people we want to spend a lot of time with, and some days they are. But you got to have other kinds of support because you need somebody to talk to, just to talk out loud, because that's where we learn the most. That's where we get the most clarity, is by hearing our self-talk. So I covered a lot in the past 20 plus minutes. So I want to open it up and make sure we have some questions and time for questions, because I went through our yellow brick road, so to speak, and how we got to the Dream Manager, which, by the way, our turnover is 300% better than the industry average. So that's a pretty good deal.
Amazing.
Our profitability went up higher than we could have ever imagined. This year, we're going to have the most profitable year that we've ever had, which blows me away, because we're learning how to do things differently and we're constantly learning. And my second generation is smarter than me. What can I say? I've been training them all my life. They're my daughter and son-in-law. So
Mary-
that's been the biggest thing for me. And when I take care of myself, it's amazing how much better everybody else is.
I love it. I love it. So I would like to start inviting questions either in the QA window. Please feel free to type your questions in there. Additionally, we do have a bunch of questions. I know Jerry and I do as well. So maybe we can start there. And so I'll start off with one question.
You go, Jay. You go.
Yeah, I know you guys. I'll turn it over to you, my man. Mary, you talked about creating a culture of caring.
Mhm.
And I think that's a really powerful thing to say because it implies listening. It implies creating like this healthy cycle of feedback.
There's 5 key principles.
Perfect. And I'm going to have one follow-up question to that. So if you're interested in creating this culture of caring, where do you start? Where does it begin? And feel free to jump into the full.
The 5 principles. The first thing to create that environment and the result is to ask questions. What do you want? You know, whether it's you start with what's 3 years from now, what do you need to make your job better? What are your biggest frustrations? Ask. Because and not by SurveyMonkey. You have to deal with the person, the humanity. Survey monkeys are too mechanical. They served a purpose, and they still do when you have a large, massive audience. But if you want to know real answers and real results, let me give you an example, Jason. At an orientation, we had a gentleman, new employee. He was a big guy. He probably played football in college, and he was just looking to pay off some bills. Well, no, he didn't go to college because when Tony asked him what was his dream, what did he really want to do? First answer, 90% of the time when you ask that question at orientation is, I want to win the lottery. So you have to go deeper, ask it again. Chip Heath talks about it in the books, in the Moments book that they wrote. And so we kept asking, and you know, that man sat there and he got quiet. He says, I'd like to learn how to read. I'd like to be able to read a book to my 3-year-old daughter. People will get real if you ask and listen. Listen with your heart and your brain. Don't just listen with your ears. Really hear what they're saying. And the way you active listen is to acknowledge what you heard to get clarity. So when you listen with your heart and your head, you acknowledge. So what you're saying to me is that you would like us to help you learn how to read. Yes, sir. We can do that. So you have, well, the first one is you have to care. You can't do all these things and pretend like you care. How many times have you gone through a checkout line at a grocery or a Target or someplace and they ask you how you're doing today and they're not even looking at you. They're just going through the motion. If you go through the motion of talking with somebody and not connect, not look at them in the eyes and directly connect with them, you're not going to get real answers. So you have to care first, ask them, listen, acknowledge, and encourage. One of the biggest compliments I get regularly is when I'm at events and I see somebody I hadn't seen in a while, I'll remember something that I don't know why, but I'll remember something that they said and I'll ask them, how's that going? And they're like, you remember that? Human nature is human nature. It doesn't matter if you're the janitor cleaning the toilets and mopping the floors or the CEO of Procter & Gamble, which I can see their office right out my window. We're all the same. People want to be heard. Does that answer your question, Jason?
That was awesome. And it's funny, sidebar, Mary, you always do that to me, but I thought you had like a JSON file on your desk because whenever we chat casually, you always remember these quick facts. I'm like, how does she remember that? It's amazing.
You know, when you care, it's amazing how things stick in your brain. It's like you're programming your brain to stick things in there. If you're doing it only to create a better result for you to make a sale or something, it's not going to work and you'll need the cheat sheets. But if you do from the heart, from the core of the soul, it comes.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mary.
That's
And I
great.
think Bruce got a question, and I've got two audience questions. As
Yeah,
well.
as you're sorting out those ones, let me just ask a follow-up, Mary. Thank you so much. And I love those kinds of like Captain Obvious, I'll say, statements, but people need to be reminded of them because they're looking for tools that create this culture of caring. And you say, well, the first step is actually care. It's like, and one of my other favorite quotes is, how do you know if you can trust someone? Trust them. Give them a chance, right? So
Yeah.
the follow-up question though is, so as you grew and you're creating this culture of caring, 500, 700 employees that you had at your peak, how do you find, so you can embody all of this and care, but you're not the direct line manager for all these people. How did you create that sense of caring among your managers and your supervisors, and where did you find them? Because I think that's a question that a lot of people would love to hear.
Absolutely. It's definitely an ongoing process. And we start doing things differently. Again, looking at what are the obstacles, where are the opportunities to capture, besides eliminating the obstacles. Like, here's an example. My daughter, who's our vice president of business development, taught for 10 years. She helped us create the Dream Manager, and then she left and taught at an elementary school and had a little program for dreams for the kids. And when she came back, her heart was definitely still with the kids. And she realized that our employees, a lot of immigrants and low income people, did not understand or appreciate the power and the importance of education. So we created a back to school bash. And every year before school starts, we've done it different ways. We've had to alter it, but bottom line is we create an event to attract team members to bring their children or grandchildren, and the kids all get a backpack with brand new back to school supplies. I mean, I'm 63. I still remember how excited I was when I got a new box of crayons, right? Because it's just the smell and everything. And we had a food truck in 2019. We had a big outdoor event, and we had food truck. We gave away over 1,000 tacos and 500 ice cups, Kona ice, and backpacks, and had games, festival type games. And this year with COVID, we did a drive-through, and we had booths, and we had ice cream. And my daughter, as they were making the ice cream to give the kids, she's taking their pictures with a back to school frame. If you go to Jan Koa's Facebook page, there's pictures on Facebook of a bunch of the different events we do. So just step out of the box and find ways. And the investment in that is minimal, but the rewards, the benefit of it was, the return on that investment was huge, because people want that. We always give people an opportunity to apply for us when we take over a building contract. And one team member that had been with the other company for 18 years joined us and became a supervisor pretty quickly. We saw her as a superstar. And she kept saying at the weekly meetings that we used to be able to have monthly meetings, first Thursday of every month, when we would have all our managers together. There was up to 50 people in the room. She said, "You guys feel more like family than my own real family. You really care about me. And you guys really clean. You don't just empty the trash." I love finding out about my competitors.
That's great. Thank you, Mary. Thank you. Jason, do you want to grab one of the questions from Richard or Amy there?
Yeah, thank you, sir. I'll jump into Richard's question. I think this is a great question. I'm just going to read the whole thing out to give it context. So this is from Richard Fanton. So thank you for suggesting this. As a protector of a healthy culture, I find that one of the tough things is that I feel like you can't take your foot off the gas because the culture can quickly start to deteriorate. This can be tiring. I would agree. Who do you see as being responsible for protecting and evolving a company culture? HR or all leaders, or something entirely different?
Everybody in the company. The statistics never change. And I was actually thinking about this driving home last night, when I always kind of visualize my events that I speak at. But the numbers keep coming back the same. 85% of the people leave a company because of their supervisor or the people around them, not for the company. They're the company, join the company. It's really everybody. That's why it's got to be embedded in every conversation, but it's got to start at the top. If the CEO, like me, if I'm not willing to have conversations and talk with people and ask them how they're doing and just, ignore them, that's not going to help. It's got to be at every level. And that's what we do. Christy has created different programs for the area managers, what we do with our newsletters, because I've got 10 people in my office every day during the day. Everybody else is in 200 buildings spread out through a whole region. So I don't get to see the people regularly. None of us do. So the area manager's responsible for delivering monthly newsletters to every building, and not just delivering the paper, but having them all sit together during their break or before their break, where they go through and read it to them and ask if there's any questions. And they several months out of the year, they bring special treats that they can have that kind of sometimes tie into the message in a newsletter or learning thing. So you just got to be creative thinking it, but that's a really good insight. I'm glad you're aware of that, Richard, because you're 100% right. You can't take your foot off the gas. And that's why it's important for you to take care of you. Because if you don't take care of you, you're not going to have the energy to keep your foot on the gas. And that's an important thing. And people will see your energy twin. I used to run and I stopped running. And my daughter said, there's something off with your energy. You need to find something else, because my knees wouldn't let me run anymore. So now I have a Peloton bike. So because I had to find something to do that. So find something to take care of you that takes care of your energy and confidence, and you can help spread that to everybody.
Great advice, Mary. Thank you. I'm going to, and Richard, great. Thanks, Mary. Amy has a question that I'm sure is near and dear to Jason's heart, so I'll ask it on behalf of Jason. But you maybe give us a couple of examples of, it sounds like you do some really new, surprising, and different things all the time, but how do you recognize your team members, your employees, for good work?
Well, we do always call them out about the positives, and we're doing. My son-in-law actually created an email address called My Positive in the subject line. It goes mypositive@jancoa.com, so that people can do that. And at first we thought it would be people just sharing positive things that are happening in their life or their family and that. But 90% is a positive, is somebody sharing what a team member did for them and how they're helping them, how somebody helped them get something done that they couldn't have done on their own in that. So with our business, we don't have a lot, but we give special year-end bonuses for people who excel, and we recognize them. We recognize people during the January Dream Come True Day. And we give 2 checks for $500 each to go toward a dream that they're working on. And that's been pretty amazing to have them come in and do that. We'll have an employee of the month when we were having the monthly meals, the celebration, come and join us so that they got to meet all the managers and get recognized in front of everybody. You know, that Maslow's thing, that recognition and appreciation are at the very top. You have to recognize and appreciate people. And it's not just, everybody wants money. That's the foundation, but that's not what feeds that inside. You have to acknowledge and recognize people.
Awesome.
Now, Jason, you got some ideas there?
I might expand. I'll add to that a little bit. We've worked with many tens of thousands of employees and hundreds of organizations, but I'll just share a couple of quick ideas. And they're going to expand upon what Mary was already saying. So if almost most organizations will have a regular meeting taking place, like a monthly Zoom meeting for people who are remote. For those who are in office, whether it's healthcare or maybe it's a manufacturing organization, just tap into those regular meetings and add a bullet point into the agenda called good news. And that's an opportunity for leaders and employees to recognize one another for the good work that they do. For example, I believe Jerry at 1-800-GOT-JUNK, they did a daily huddle where and you guys are huge, like 400 plus employees. And like you guys, as a part of that, you do a couple of KPIs, but you'd also recognize great performance on a daily basis coming from leadership or peer to peer. Like that's so powerful, especially done in a group context. I'd also weave that, apologies.
Right.
Also weave into technology wherever possible. So if you have an instant messaging program, whether it's like Slack or MS Teams, set up a channel called Recognition. This is similar to what Mary was just suggesting around setting up an email address around Recognition and allow employees to recognize one another. And I'd highly recommend weaving in your company core values, because when your core values come alive, people feel more connected to the mission, vision, and values. And just like a small nuance, but it's really powerful, is when you weave in storytelling. It's super fascinating. You look at any high performing organization, they all have recognition programs in place, whether it's Disney, whether it's something like the Navy SEALs, it's across all high performing organizations. And what you want to do is you want to recognize your heroes. You want to tell meaningful stories that are fun to listen to or meaningful to listen to. And when people hear a story told about somebody else, they think, I want a story told about me as well. All those things can be done totally for free, because I'm a big believer. Rewards certainly make a program fun, but the recognition is the most powerful driver of a recognition program. So weave it into existing meetings, weave it into your technology, whether that's email, instant messaging, and tell great stories.
Well said.
Thank you.
Nice job, Jason. Nice job. Do we have time for one more question for Mary, or?
Absolutely. Yeah. Do you have one in mind?
Sure, I do. I'm sure you do too. But let's try and see if we can squeeze a couple in here. And please fill the chat if there's any other questions that you have.
I am going to type in my email address into the message too, so if anybody wants to email me later.
Great, thank you for that. And maybe so while you're doing that, when I was doing some reading and watching some of your videos that you cringed about, Mary, but. You talk a lot about helping your employees find balance in their lives. And I can see just the way that warms your heart when I even just say that. I can see it in you. But so there's many CEOs out there that are like, well, it's about productivity. It's not about balance. So just maybe inspire us a little bit with how helping your employees find balance actually has helped Jancoa be a better company.
Well, recently we were at a workshop. Tony and I have been clients of Strategic Coach, a workshop for entrepreneurs, for 30 years. Every quarter, we go to either Chicago or Toronto, hit the pause button, reflect over the past 90 days, and plan the next 90 days. And so that helps us adjust. And you've got to find a way to do that. Because if you just keep moving, you're going to be in the wrong direction. Because even the plane that flies from New York to LA on autopilot has to look and adjust. The pilot has to adjust along the way. So you have to adjust. And it's made, I just lost track of what I was going to say.
We were talking about balance, finding balance for your employees. Actually, like, how does that help Jancoa?
When we were at a Strategic Coach meeting, that one I was referring to in Toronto before I started talking about the plane, I miss planes. I miss them horribly. But somebody asked Tony, how much did it cost you when you started the Dream Manager? That just sounds like a really expensive initiative. And Tony says, I thought the same thing, and I would do spreadsheets, and I had our accounting person do spreadsheets. And we figured it out, and it cost us 50 cents the first year. And it's the cost of turnover is so horrendous. The cost of inefficiencies, the cost of retraining new people because you lost the people that knew what they were doing. I was 20 years old when I worked in a corporation, and I went to my friend who was in HR. I said, help me understand. I don't understand this. I just saw 3 people leave from different departments that had been here for 5 years, knew what they were doing, and you hire brand new people making more than what the people left made, and it's going to take them a year to know what they're doing. It's when you have a culture of caring and see the humanity, those common practices aren't so common anymore. So it really starts by the connections, and it reduces the cost. An ROI, and the difference between cost and investment is something that you really need to take a look at. Because when you're doing something for people, Peter Drucker had it 100% right. People that put people on the spreadsheet as a cost is a liability is dead wrong. Dead wrong. They are the biggest asset. Whether you're a service, manufacturing, warehouse, you can't have business without enough of the right good people. There's a book by Dr. Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan, Who Not How. You have to have the right who's on your team, the people. It's not about how can I get this cheaper? No, who do you need on your team to make it so it's good quality, it's efficient, and it's productive. So the people are the core.
I love it.
And everybody's heart just grew 3 times.
Mary, that was amazing. And I love our conversations, and I love how every time we chat, it kind of, the advice I get, for example, today on how to build a great culture, on how to keep employees engaged, also kind of weaves in on how I could be a better human being. I feel like you gently drift between life coaching, just overall good advice and good culture building practices. I know certainly my wife will appreciate when I make better eye contact and I listen and I truly engage. And you know, building that culture of caring at home is just as important at home as it is.
You think?
What I'm going to do just to begin wrapping things up, because I want to be respectful of everybody's time, is we do have quick 3 offers. Number 1, we're going to be sending a takeaway from today's session. So we've recorded the session, and we're also going to be packaging it up into a cool little sort of top 5 takeaways, which we'll be sending out to everybody who attended today. No action required from you. What we're going to be doing is we're just going to be sending out an email with that information. Second, in a moment, we last time we mentioned the idea of creating a mastermind. So, and funnily enough, Mary mentioned the importance
of tribe.
Importance of finding your tribe. And I believe our first mastermind group is now full, but there's a ton of interest in this, and we've already started a waiting list. So we wanted to invite people to participate in that waiting list. I know it sounds kind of funny, but the gist is we're going to launch this first one, get it ironed out super smooth, and then open it up to a larger group. There's some awesome people who are part of this group. And again, I'm a member of Mastermind, this group called EO. I get the best life advice, best mentorship from similar peers running organizations of a similar size. So I'd highly encourage you guys to come check this out. I'm gonna be launching a survey on screen in 1 second. So if you're interested in learning more, just check off the button yes when I pop the survey up on screen. And then in that same poll, which again, I'm going to launch in 1 second, if you're interested in learning more about bucket list rewards, I'd be happy to have somebody from our team share a little bit of information with you. That question today is, how do you recognize and reward staff? Our team can certainly give you guys best practices on how to do that for free. And if you're interested in learning about how our platform works, we can certainly help you with that. We've worked with companies anywhere from 50 employees to well over 10,000. And then lastly, if you're interested in a 1-hour consultation with Trailblaze Partners, they have a culture first leadership training. Jerry and Reese and the whole team over at Trailblaze Partners are super smart. They've worked with a ton of you laugh.
Super smart, eh?
Thanks, Jay.
They
talk to you about your leadership.
They've been kind enough to consult me on like salary strategies, on year-end reviews. I've been going to them. And I have years of experience as a CEO and even a bit in HR as well. So they're awesome. And I'd highly recommend just chat with them if you have any questions. So I'm going to launch that poll right now. Give me 1 second, and I'll give everybody a moment to launch poll. So you'll see all 3 questions up on screen. Would you be interested in joining the mastermind group? Would you like to see a demo of bucket list rewards? Would you like a 1-hour consultation with Trailblaze Partners? So I'll let people fill that in. Wonderful. Give it another 5 seconds and we'll wrap it up.
You're a
Awesome.
popular man, Jay.
I am. Cool. So I'll wrap that up there. And with that, I think we've checked all our boxes. And I wanted to thank everybody again for attending another one of our sessions. And especially thank you, Mary. That was awesome. Always a pleasure to chat with you.
Thank you.
Mary, any sort of final comments or parting words?
Was that a
Hey, it's
Mary
the
or
end of the
Jerry?
year.
It was-
I'll go and then you can go, Jerry.
I just want to
Jerry
say
and
thank you for
Mary.
sharing your gift, Mary, with us.
Oh,
and
thank you.
Over to you. Thank you.
Okay. I want to challenge everybody because hearing a great conversation is awesome, but not doing anything different is not going to give you any changes. So find some time in 24 hours, even if it's just 20 minutes, and take a journal. And I used to say go to Starbucks or someplace, but I'm not sure what places are open. So if you have to go in the bathroom and close the door to be by yourself, you can do that. But take time for you and write down in the next 30 days, what's one thing you can do different or better to take care of yourself? And if it's already 2023, just start writing down, keep a list going when something comes to mind. What has to be true for you to be happy with your results? Personal and professional. We have one life, personal, professional, they're not divided. It's together. So work together, bring your life together and dream big, create that fascinating future. That's how you get out of the fog of today.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mary. I can't think of better parting words than those. Thank
Excellent.
you, everybody. Have a wonderful Tuesday. Until next time, have a good one, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Happy
Thanks,
holidays,
everyone.
everybody.
Thank you, Mary.